Manchester United were talking to my agent. Arsenal, like Arsene Wenger. Arsenal, we had first refusal on me and Michael Carrick.
Really?
Yeah.
Fucking.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's insane, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing the pod, bro. I really
thank you.
appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
Really, really appreciate that. I know you got a busy day of promo and stuff as well with the new book and stuff as well. But yeah, man. And I know you do pods as well, especially like because now you're in this kind of media punditry spotlight in some ways. Your beginning is interesting because you're from Paddington, like you were saying. You're from Paddington, and I don't know why. I just thought you was from East.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a football thing. I don't know if it's a Cockney thing or a West Ham thing, but I just thought you was from East. But you say a lot of people say that, right?
Yeah, I think because I've always been quite private, right? And I've not been one, so I was born in Paddington, right? Yeah. So some people, but then I moved to Camden Town. I say I'm from Camden because that's where I grew up. That's where I was running around the streets doing all of that stuff. And then at 17, I moved east because I was playing at West Ham. Yeah. But I've never been one to like, they've got where I place of birth wrong, thing like so. I just let people think what they got to think.
Before you went to West Ham, did you play for Senrab?
No.
Did you ever play for them?
No. That's John Terry, J. Lloyd Samuel,
because they
Ledley
had such
King.
an alumni of players that a lot of them went to play for like London clubs.
Yeah, see, all of them boys are just a year older than me. Obviously, when you get older, it's like 6 months, 12 months. It's not the same, but at that age, I was the year below. So I played for Chapel Boys, Chapel Market. Okay. So we used to play against Senrab. We used to give them a little whooping every now and then. Yeah. We were decent. We were decent. Yeah. But kids don't play grassroots football no more. They do, but then the best ones get moved on to the academy system, and then all of a sudden they're like little professionals, and it's all done differently. Like your team. When you were Sunday League with your boys, you know what I mean? And it was just felt different, you know what I mean?
You train outside on the grass if it's wet. Yeah. You might have to borrow someone's shin pads. Mate, there's never enough socks.
Do you know what I remember? I was talking to my mum about it the other day, picking up the dog poo off the pitch before you like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm looking at my son, my eldest son's at Brentford now, and it's like a carpet, like Camp Nou they're playing on, professional, and I'm just like, you don't know you're born, son.
Sunday League and that, like, is when someone would score, because the pitch was a bit waterlogged near the goalkeeper area. It wouldn't really go in. It would just kind of stop right before it goes in the goal. Oh, yeah. Or you might get a dog that runs on the pitch chasing the ball and is like, everyone stop. So, hey, mate, can you get your dog off the pitch? Yeah, no, Sunday League, I feel like, because I played Sunday League and then I played a bit Saturday League, same kind of thing, basically. But I think that when you play that kind of football, and then the minute I got to go on like a professional pitch, and I'm talking like when I got to do like a soccer aid or like a charity thing.
Yeah, we met.
I met you at soccer aid. Yeah, and that was like the level where I was like, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it now, because when you play Sunday League and the ball bobbles, and even like you do play like, let's say Sunday or Saturday, you might go to like a school and they've got like a nice pitch, for example. But I remember going onto Old Trafford for the first time. I think that's the first time I met you there, and I was like, okay, I understand it now. There's like there's a way that the ball was moving that I've only heard of like Premier League and pros talk about, that I was like, it's just the same pitch. But until you pass it and you're like,
zips,
wow, this is moving super quick. It never moves this quick. But you started playing football like at quite an older age, right? Was it like 11 years old, right?
Yeah. See that, I mean, Mo, I was an unusual player in my time. Do you know what I mean? So, people ask me why, what did you do? I didn't get coached. I didn't play. My dad wasn't a football man at all. So it wasn't like, he didn't notice that I could play. Yeah. Do you know, but I was quite a lonely kid. Not lonely kid, I was happy in my own company. So every day outside my house, there'd be a wall in the flats and you'd be playing. And I was fascinated by what I could do with a football. So it was just, I could do everything with a football, but I'd never played a game. Like, I only watched the game. So I was nearly 11 and I went and played for Paddington, and we was a terrible team. We was to get whooped. Like, I'm talking, Do you know? I used to play centre half because the only chance I got to get the ball and try and dribble everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I never got coached, and nobody was ever telling me what to do or what not to do. So by the time I went to a club, an academy, I had good ball mastery, but then I needed to be coached. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
And so it was just an unusual route, you know.
So like at that age of playing football, because I think like now, you know, you're hearing of kids getting signed at like 6 years old, and they're in these academies, and I've heard that it's not really about how good they are. It's almost about like other stuff in terms of how it's almost like, oh, are they sharing the ball? Are they positive? It's almost not about the football in some ways, and that's only from what I've heard as opposed to what I know it essentially. Do you know what I mean?
The two things have changed, mate, right? I think from we come through in the 90s, right? So football from 92 to Premier League, it started to have this boom financially. Like football's always there and always meant things. But all of a sudden, football's getting like every year more and more glamorous, more and more money. Big stars were coming to the Premier League. But the parents, like, I think the parents were like, if your kid was good, you took him to the Sunday League and they went to watch him. And, you know, it was like, oh, great, he's playing well. Oh, he's at a club. And it was all a bit quaint. Nobody knew what was going on.
Yeah.
But fast forward 30 years, I think there's a lot of people that understand that if you've got the best kid in the world and he's 12, there's a financial value on that. This kid could be the next Max Dowman or the next Nwaneri or the next list any player that's come through. So then there's people have wires to that, and it's this and clubs try to do a good job, but ultimately young footballers are assets, even as kids, and they've got a duty of care for them to be kids to grow up in that. So there's so much thrown into them, and the clubs. I work with Brentford in the academy a little bit, and they do a great job at trying to give the boy an opportunity to learn football, but be rounded. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But ultimately, if you produce one player for your first team, that's millions. It's like it's a funny mix where nurturing a footballer and a business at some point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess it's where like now that almost if someone is a young star, as much as it's the prospect of them going on to great stuff, I guess it's the business of football of we know that this boy could be sensational at 16. Let alone, I think when I used to watch football as a young kid, like in the 90s and early 2000s, it was like, oh, he's a prospect like 2021 coming through. And you're like, oh, this person might be good. He's in the reserves or under 21s. And then they kind of come through where, you know, I went to the Arsenal game and seen Max Downham play. And I felt so nervous for him because I was like, right, you're 15.
I'm 15,
but at the same time, as like, I'm just like, I'm excited. But even when that's any other young player now, I'm like, I fingers crossed, I hope this young man does well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can see the kind of trajectory. So for you at your age of 11, you're playing football and I feel like just from growing up and watching you always seemed like you're one of those players that I think there's a few English players who just have this natural flair. Like there's only a couple that I could say that's like the stepovers, the turns, the flicks. Like there's only a couple that I could name as like English footballers that was like, yeah, I think in a past life Joe Cole might have been Brazilian or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, but because you played football in like you grew up in like a cage. You used to play cage football as well, right?
Yeah.
How was that for your development of football? Because I think you can tell a cage footballer when you see them play football. Yeah,
there's a great stat. I think that London and Paris have produced the most professional footballers around the globe.
Oh wow!
And it's because when you think about it, there's a mix of diversity. You know, there's poverty as well, so there ain't much to do for kids. You know, You know, growing up, like someone weren't taking me golf or tennis. Do you know what I mean? Or, you know, so it was like mum and dad were like, you know, trying to get by. You know, I was at like 7, 8, 9. I'm all right, I'll come in for dinner. Do you know what I mean? And we had a football.
Yes, yeah.
And so that, you know, and then obviously you play with bigger kids. You know, tougher kids. You learn lessons.
Yeah.
You might have to have a few scraps along the way. Like all these lessons help you as you go through your footballing journey. And that's all happened before you walk into an academy.
Yeah.
So but my natural flair, I sound proper like self-indulgent, but like I just like, I was fascinated, like, I was just obsessed. You know, like if there was a kid in the estate who could do something with football that I couldn't do, I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
I'd go to bed and think, I'm gonna need to work this out. Like I'm there, like most kids might be now watching Peppa Pig or something. I'm 9 thinking, like, Jermaine can do that flick. I can't do it. I need to get better. And then I set my alarm in the morning, and before anyone, because you know, in the summer holidays, no one surfaces till gone 10. I'd be out and I'd practice. Like I had this mindset as a kid where I needed to be able to do everything, and then I think that served me right the way through.
Who were some of your idols as a child when it comes to football? Who was, because I always, like, when you're young, there's always the player. Like I grew up watching Thierry Henry. So I started playing again. I only played that Sunday or Saturday, but I played as a centre back.
You can play, Mo. You can play.
I'm not bad, man. I try, man.
Some of them boys in soccer, they can't play. You can play.
I'm not bad, man. I appreciate that, Joker. I can't lie. I'm going to take that to the grave, bro. But no, I think, like, when I played when I was younger, like, for example, I would watch Thierry Henry, and knowing that he was a winger made me say, well, he plays up front and I want to play wing. And there was this, I remember growing during like the 90s, early 2000s, it was, you was good if you had a left foot. So I taught myself how to shoot and cross with my left, because I was like, well, you know, if you're going to make it, you need to have a left foot. But I'd always try and finish. Like when Henry's on the left and then he opens his body out and does that placement shot, it was like iconic. A bit like how, you know, basketball is, where you've got like, I don't know, Kobe does his back, and then, but who was that for you?
Mate, I get asked this question. It's only one. It's Paul Gascoigne, right? So
I thought you would say this.
So
because when I was saying about those 5 English footballers with flair, you, for me, it's like you, Paul. I'd probably say Rooney in there as well when it came to the flair.
That's
as well.
very kind of him, man. So obviously I said there wasn't football on in my house, but the World Cup, like, I'm like, Dad, come on, England are playing, right? And he's put England on, right? And so it's the first time we all sat down as a family to watch England. Like, you know how World Cup goes, even the periphery fans will watch. And like, he was this fresh-faced kid, and he was fearless, and he was, you know, he was exciting the commentators, and it felt so exotic, right? And then I remember the moment. So 1990 World Cup, the telly downstairs broke. Imagine that, the panic stations, right? So we had to borrow a telly, the little square ones, right? And we're all like watching this 1990 the semi-final against Germany, and I was like, Gazza was brilliant. Like, he just mesmerised me, and I was transfixed. And then the tears came when he got the yellow card, and like I could see the sort of passion and how it affected my mum and my dad, like, who don't even like football. Do you know what I mean? And I remember just thinking, I want to play for England. That moment, right? Then the next day, I'm out, and it was like you're on like a mission to play for England, and anything, because it ain't like social media weren't around, so you couldn't see Gazza. You know what I mean? But I would scour the papers, see if there's any news about Gazza. If he was on telly, I'd watch it. I was obsessed with him, and Gazza was the muse, if you like, for me wanting to play football.
So then, fast forward a little bit from 11 years old to then signing for West Ham, and you know, you got talents like Rio Ferdinand was there, Frank Lampard was there. Did you play with Jimmy Bullard?
Yeah. Jimmy came in later. Do you know Jimmy?
Well, I've met him a few times, like doing Soccer AM and stuff like that. Really lovely guy. Really like.
Yeah, he's nuts, isn't he?
He's like one of those people where it's like, if he wasn't a footballer, he's the person you want to sit next to in a pub, because he'd have some good stories about anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love Jimmy.
Yeah,
right? I sat next to him in the changing room. Right? And let me tell you, it can be fun. It can also be a pain in the backside. Like, honestly, I love him. Right, he come into West Ham, and for some reason one day I decided I'm going to squirt him with the fire extinguisher. Like thinking, I'll get you once, like a little one in the head, like.
Yeah.
And then for like every day for 6 months, he's doing it to me. Like you can't. He was, and do you know what? Jimmy would have come through at West Ham, but he had me, Carrick, Frank Lampard, so he had to leave to go Peterborough and then come back up. He ended up being a Premier League player and getting in the England squad. But we had a really good group of young midfielders. Leon Britton as well. Do you remember him?
Yes, yeah.
So think of all that quality. 5 Premier League players, all playing midfield in this like 3-4 year spell at West Ham.
Did it feel like pressure at that time? I think the reason why I mentioned Jimmy, because I've met him before, and he's like, first time I met him, he's a proper trickster. Like he had a pint and then he pretended to pour the pint, and I was like, oh, right. And I could imagine there's that football. There's I guess at that young age, there's a mixture of like the football banter and camaraderie that comes with, you know, being with a bunch of guys 24/7. Do you know what I mean? And all you do is play football. But then there's also the other side, which is the professional side of we're young and we're playing for a club like West Ham. Do you know what I mean? How do you focus at that young age when you're earning a little bit of money as well? And then there is the added pressure of like, you're the one that's going to be next up.
It's a weird journey. And I suppose like writing the book, you know, when you play football, when you just you're in it, right? So all of a sudden I'm at school, 16, doing my GCSEs, have a little holiday, come back, and then I'm training with Ian Wright, Neil Ruddock, Trevor Sinclair, and then I'm playing with them. Then I'm playing in front of a stadium, and there's big expectations, and I think there's a different something about football. The footballers that make it are not necessarily the best players. Like they're the ones that can go all these little steps, like the first time a fan gets on your back, the first bad game you've had, the first time you get booed, it might be even the first time you have to train with one of your heroes. There's all these little things that you have to go through and come through the other side. So that period of your life, going from like some normal kid who's with dreams of playing football to playing, you know, with in the big boys game, is a really hard thing to navigate because I remember like my first Premier League game, I'm playing against Manchester United at Old Trafford, you know, and I think it was 99, so it was the year, maybe just the year before they won the treble, or the year after won the treble, and you're like, mate, I had these guys' posters up on my wall 2 years ago. Now, like, I'm in battle with them. So writing the book was really good because you're trying to sort of, and I have children now myself. I've got a daughter who's 15. And I'm thinking, wow, she's nearly 16. I'm thinking, wow, at that age, I was 12 months away from playing against the best side in Europe at Old Trafford with a lot of expectations.
Yeah, of course.
And you think, how did I do it? How do you know? Navigate that, and that was the best thing about writing a book, because you realise, mate, it's a mad journey you're on to do that.
And I guess it's like also quite nice to start collecting all your memoirs from a time that's just not on a podcast here and a interview there. It's now captured in a piece of literature. Do you know what I mean? No one. I remember writing a book myself, and it was knowing that, you know, one of the publishers said, you know, no one ever throws away a book. I said, what do you mean? They said, never. You'll catch it even in 20 years' time, it will be in the library, but someone always passes down a book. You never say, I'm done with that, I'll put it in the bin. People, you know, might be in a charity shop or wherever, but someone else will pick it up and read it, and how far it will go, and just how people connect to a book. What I've found was people that will come up to me and say, oh man, your book, wow. Yeah. And I sit there and I'm like, oh, like, I just assumed you might know what I do because you might go to my shows, and people
So do you think they have more of a connection with you because they've read the book?
Yeah, and I think it's also how they are able to imagine the things that you're talking about. Yeah. Where they sit there, wherever they are in the world, on a flight, at home, maybe in a hospital, and they sit there and they're imagining the things you're talking about. Yeah. Which is so different to a podcast where you get to see it and listen to it, or an interview, you've captured it. You have no distractions. So at that age of 17, you're playing with like it's like you're saying, you're playing with like some of your idols at this point. Then you've also got this core young group of talent. What's it like going on a pitch at 17 years old? Because it's like I was saying, I went to the Arsenal game and I see Max Downham at 15 and there's 60,000 fans. And don't get me wrong, we're all there supporting him.
Yeah.
But what's that like when you go away to like Old Trafford and it's the opposite?
Yeah.
Like, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean?
There's always a wild moment when you realise football ain't right. I remember, I think I scored my first goal for West Ham against Birmingham. Right? It was a winning goal last minute. I was 17 or 18, I can't remember. And scored the goal, jump in. I talk about it in the book, and you feel on top of the world. There's no better feeling in the world than the last minute winner. And then I get pulled out literally 5 minutes after the game to go and do the interviews for Sky. And I'm walking through, and the way it is at St Andrews is like, I don't know if it's still the same, but you go from one stand to the other through like a cage to get to the media bit. And as I'm walking out, the Birmingham fans are walking out, mate, and there was about 4 or 5 grown men. They're probably men in their 20s, but when you're 18, that's a grown man, or maybe in their 30s, punching the thing, trying to spit at you. And I'm just like, like you're just thinking, this ain't right. This is mental. Do you know what I mean? And then bang, you go through the thing, and then there's this interview. Oh, how are you doing? What did you think of it? If I look at an interview, I like a ghost. I'm like, what's just happened there? Do you know what I mean? But all them little challenges that come in football, I mean, it's not right, but it is what it is. Like, I wouldn't say I lost any sleep over it. I'd probably give them a bit of shit back.
Do you have to do that at that age?
Yeah, I think in football, especially back then in football, you had to have a bit of bravado about you, especially the way I played, because people, like you said, like, I like to take a few liberties. I like to play the beautiful game, and I feel I love winning. I'm a competitor, but I also I understood that it means people go to watch players because they want to see something they don't see at Hackney Marshes on a Sunday, 100%. Saturday, right? So I always had that in my mind. So I tried to play, I tried to entertain as well, and I was conscious of the fact that people enjoyed it. So on the flip side of that, no 30-year-old fullback wants me trying to pop one through his leg. So I took a lot of pelters.
Yeah.
So you have to grow thick skin, and it wasn't a sanitised version of football. Like, there was some, like, I remember referees going, like, when I was get smashed, like, and I'm thinking, like, nowadays straight red, VAR, you're gone.
Yeah.
You're up Soho with the FA, and you're hitting your pocket. The referee's going, referee's saying, that's your free one, son. And I'm on the floor like that, like, been folded up. And it's just like, so football was different, but you have to grow a bit of a thick skin. And I think growing up where you're from, that's why I think, that working class environment where you come from, you have to be tough. That's just how it is. And to play football, you have to be tough mentally, not physically. I wasn't physically strong.
Because you're playing as a centre mid as well at this stage, right? Yeah. So I always say that's one of the hardest positions to play, because I think you've got to play the game forward, backwards, know what's going on left and right, and you almost have to play a lot without the ball. I remember going to Soccer Aid, and someone said to me, like, don't get me wrong, I played football not at a competitive level, but who was it? There was some pro that said, I think it was Darren Fletcher.
Yeah,
he's like, Mo, do you know how to play in the pockets? I said, I just said yes. I said, yeah. I said, I don't know what that means. But he's talking football talk at this point. And I'm like, I don't have a clue what you're talking about. But like, playing in that position at such a young age, I think I compare it a little bit to seeing like Jack Wilshere play, for example, such a young age where he would give it back in some ways. I've always had a lot of similarities to yourselves in some ways. Being an Arsenal fan,
I agree.
Where he would give it back, but he would hold it up. He had he was able to turn with the ball and stuff. But at that age, it's like, I could imagine you have to give as good as you got as well. Do you know what I mean? Because you was a flair player in a sense where you could do the turns and the tricks and stuff. So would that make you a target? Oh God, essentially. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, mate. And again, like I said, as I played on for 20 years, so I saw football evolve massively. I remember playing a semi-final against Blackburn for Chelsea FA Cup, and we 1-0 up at half-time, and Benny McCarthy, who I'd never met before, but he's obviously a nice guy. He's come up to me at half-time. He's like, when you're starting the second half, he's gone, Joe, he said, be careful. He said they're all in the dressing room saying they're going to kick you this half. I went, cheers, Benny, mate. Do you know what I mean? It was like savage, done, and so that was a thing. You would get smashed.
Yes,
some of the my good mate Scotty Parker, every time I see him, he was playing for Newcastle. He done a belting tackle on me. It's on YouTube. It's got about 3 million followers. It's just it was how football used to be. He's hit me, and I don't know what planet I was on. I went up in the air, I come down, but you just accepted it, Yeah. And now I'm a pundit and I'm watching football, and fouls are easier to get, So I do sometimes be a bit envious. I think, I'd like to have played in this era. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I could imagine it's interesting with the whole VAR. Yeah. Kind of, you're either for it or you're against it, where you're able to have a level of fairness now in some ways where you're like, oh, come on, man. Because automatically now we can watch stuff.
Yeah.
But I do understand the point where I've gone to games and we're all cheering. Yeah. And they're like, oh, VAR, and you're like, oh, man, it's just sucked all the energy.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. No, I don't like, this is the way I see it. Like, again, going back to, it might, the argument from their side is we have 25 or 30% better decisions, more correct decisions in the game than the referees are. And you're like, okay, so we're getting more of that. But what you're losing, like you said, as a fan, you're losing that passion when a ball hits the back of the net and the whole stadium erupts.
Oh yeah,
and the outpouring. That's what people work hard every week, every day to go to football, to watch their team, to have to share in that moment.
Yeah.
And you just got some geezer on the computer. Do you know what I mean? Like that, sweating. Do you know, like when we cover FA Cup games and they don't have it, so much better.
Yeah, I've seen it with some of the League Cup games. Yeah. Where you see someone and they're like, oh, that's offside. And there is if it was VAR, understood. But I know what you mean. I guess for some players, they must enjoy it in the sense of, it's like, I guess it gives the underdogs a bit more of a chance. I watched the Grimsby Man United game, and there was a few decisions in there where people said, oh, if it was VAR though. Yeah. But you sit there and you're like, but it gives the underdogs a bit more of a chance that they wouldn't get if VAR was involved. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you think the people in charge are worried about the underdogs though? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the truth. And also, who are these people that are for VAR? Fans. Go and take a census now, football fans, as they're walking in. Yeah. Yes or no? So it's a no. Right, okay, let's run this back then. Let's get rid of it.
Yeah. I guess you're only a fan is when it works for you. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. When it's like, I've gone to game, I think I went to the Arsenal Man United game and we won 3-2 when Nketiah scored. Yeah. And Garnacho's or Hoytland's goal got called offside. Yeah. And the sigh of relief was like, oh, thank God I wasn't on that side. So like for you at 17, you became captain really young as well, West Ham. Yeah. Was that like 2003? I'm not too sure.
2003,
2003. What was that feeling like? Because there's one thing being a captain, which is the leader. Everyone looks at you to make, I don't know, whether it's decisions or pick up the team, the morale. Yeah. But how was it being so young being a captain though? Because I can't imagine the pressures that there's probably people that are older than you that are like, got to listen to, not so much listen to you, but you're like, I'm the leader in
I think there was a little bit of that in the dressing room. I was the youngest, or maybe Jermaine might have been younger than me in the dressing room. But I was 21. I was an England international. I'd played over 200 games. So I was an old 21, if you like, and I was. So it wasn't like like it sounds really young. So there was a few senior players that probably knows how to join it, but it was at a time when the club was in a real tricky situation. So there was no time to like, how's this going to work in the dressing room? With me being,
we're talking Upton Park days, isn't it?
Yeah, Upton Park.
Man. Yeah.
So I just sort of like I just rolled with it, and I took great pride in it, and obviously ended up with us getting relegated on 42 points. And I talk about that in the book about, you know, I think a lot of fans think, you know, players a bit mercenaries and all that. That was never the case with me. Like, I felt everything. You know, I remember the feeling of that relegation, like, you know, the feeling of letting people down, even though it was one of my best seasons in my career in terms of performance-wise. Like, I was playing well, but, you know, I'm thinking, my mind's spinning, thinking of all the people that are going to lose their job because that's the realism of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it burned, it hurt. You know, you don't want to go outside, and I think a lot more footballers than fans think feel that. You know, that sort of. I mean, I always played with passion, and whatever club I played for, the ones where it worked and the ones where it didn't, I always gave it all because that was in my nature. But yeah, that really, really was tough to go through that as a young man and feel that burn and you just, it was just really tough.
I could imagine it's the people that probably sometimes the fans also don't see.
Yeah.
Whether it's that security guard who's worked there for 40 years and he says hello to you every time you go in, or, you know, the person that might work in the canteen, for example, that is no longer there. And they're sometimes the heartbeat of those clubs.
They are the heartbeat.
Some of the fans don't even know who exists. They don't know that this person exists. Do you know what I mean? But when it comes to cost cutting, they're normally going to be the first to get cut in some ways. So 2003 was the same year that you also left Chelsea. So you left West Ham to go to Chelsea. Was there any other clubs that was interested in you?
Yeah, there was.
Because you got relegated in that year. And I always found that was also a time where when there were star players at a club that got relegated, you knew that they would leave. Where it's kind of changed a little bit now. Some players kind of stay, and if their club gets, you know, like re-promoted, then they're back. If, for example, like you see it with like Jamie Vardy, for example, when Leicester went down and came back up. What were the other clubs that was interesting?
So West Ham, I've talked about it in a book. West Ham were in financial trouble. So they needed to. So there's always it's never black or white. There's always a little element of something. You know, the club needed to sell. They sold me, Glenn Johnson, initially, and then later on Defoe and Carrick. There's a books balancing situation. So I needed to go. So there was options. Manchester United were talking to my agent. Arsenal, like Arsene Wenger. For Arsenal, we had first refusal on me and Michael Carrick.
Really?
Yeah.
Fucking
yeah.
That's insane, man.
Yeah, but I'll put an asterisk on it, right? I'll put an asterisk. This wasn't Arsenal of like 2012 or 13. You still had some fantastic players.
I feel like
in that situation.
Silva was there. I think Fabregas
might have been there.
Probably at the academy them times.
In fact, it was before Fabregas. Was Patrick still there?
I think Patrick was there. Patrick was still there.
Patrick Gilberto for me. You signed, God bless him, Reyes.
You
signed Reyes.
Yes.
So you had Henri, Wiltord, Pires, Lundberg. So you were stacked. You were like anyway. And Arsenal were the best team in the country, and Manchester United. And Chelsea were sort of this. Chelsea were Roman coming at Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? So that changed
that was
things.
really the beginning of their transition, wasn't it? Yeah, because I remember they had players like Hasselbank, Johnson.
Yeah.
Who was there? I think
Jeremy
might have been there.
No, Jeremy came in the summer.
Did he come in the summer? You came in.
Yeah.
I
remember.
was
a good team. They finished fourth. There was a good team there. Jesper Grønkjær, but Roman come in. So I think Arsenal turned us down. Manchester United were still sniffing around, and you're just sitting there waiting. I'm going back to pre-season at West Ham, and I'm waiting, and I'm like, right, compartmentalise this. It's down to the club. If the club want me to go, they'll accept the bid. If they don't, I'm here. I'm ready to go. And Chelsea just come. The bid happened. Get in the motor. Drive to Stamford Bridge. Negotiate, took 3 hours, 4 hours. It was really quick, you know what I mean? Like, there was, right, ready to sign, quick medical, met Claudio Ranieri. For me, like, as a kid, as I said, like, I supported Chelsea as a kid because my pal at school, his dad took us. He was a football fan. I'd never been to a game, so it could have been anyone I supported. Do you know what I mean? I always had that fondness for Chelsea, and it happened really quick, and it just felt going into the club. you was in the centre of the footballing universe. Like Roman was throwing. It was like champ manager. You know when you got the cheat code, we're signing the top scorer in it, Serie A, Damien Duff. I'm walking in and you're picking up the paper. Who's coming in this week, right? And like, you know, I'm 21, so we're signing, like you said, Mutu, top scorer in Italy. I think he was at the time. Crespo, Argentina's number 9. Veron, Argentina's number 10. It was literally like that. And the work was like football was changing. Yeah. And we was at the epicenter of it. And it was just, it was exciting, really exciting.
How did it feel for you? Because at this age, you're the guy at West Ham. Yeah. You know, you are the captain. Yeah. And then you go into this new environment at Chelsea where you're looking around. Was Makelele signed around that time?
Makelele came in at the same time, yeah.
And now what's that like for one yourself? Because I remember at that time, I remember seeing you sign for Chelsea and I was like, oh, right, Joe's going Chelsea. Yeah. Because I remember you was West Ham's guy, if that makes sense. Yeah. So now seeing you in this position where it's like, oh, okay, this is like a super team almost. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It felt unfair. Every other fan, I remember when we was all hoping, this ain't going to work out. Yeah. This ain't going to work out. And the minute you started to see them win games, but also you knew the players they were signing, Hernan Crespo. Yeah. And it was just like, you know, Robin on one side, Duff on the other side. Yeah. It was almost like, this is unfair, but it's actually working. Yeah. They're now a new powerhouse. I think the last team I remember seeing that with that I can remember was probably like Man City. Yeah. So how was that for you, being the guy at, you know, one team and then going into this new team where it's like you're saying, there's no Fabrizio who's going to tell you. You're probably finding out as like in the paper, like you're saying. Mate, what was that like? Yeah, but
for all the kids listening, like, you know, there's none of this like refreshing the page and seeing what's going on. Like you had to wait till the next day and get down the shop, 25p. And So you sort of like I distinctly remembered going into Harleton and thinking, please stop signing players now. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm like, there's more of us. Like I want to play. And I signed on the same day as Veron, who was the big signing. Yeah. You know, he's like he was like you said, Argentina's number 10. You know, he was the man.
Was he? Would you say he was at that point? Was that their marquee signing?
Yeah. He was a big global name. It didn't quite work for him at Manchester United, but before that, he was the best midfielder in the world. Yeah, that's why Manchester United signed him.
Bought him from Parma, I think it was.
Lazio.
Was it Lazio? Okay.
Yeah. Maybe he played at Parma. So definitely Italy. And he's a proper footballer, mate. He was like, but the Premier League just wasn't for him. Okay. Do you know what I mean? At the time, because you know, I think European football is getting more and more aligned. Like Spain play like England, play like Italy. But people have to remember what it was like. Italy played their own style. They had their own swagger. Spain had a version of football. We were the most unique version of football. And it didn't suit Veron's football, which, like, he's quality. But in training, I'm seeing him, like, wrap it into the forward with the outside of his boot, turn it round the corner. And I'm just like a kid in a candy shop. I can't wait to play. Yeah. But, like, we didn't get to play much together because he sort of faded away. I was younger, so I was getting stronger and playing more and more. But I did learn a lot from him. He was a top guy as well.
How was the change when you was at Chelsea once Jose Mourinho came in? Because I felt like that was really the changing of the guard in some ways. Like, watching it from an outsider, we all knew that, like, oh, Chelsea got something here. This is quite a good team. Like, I remember when they had Duff on one side and Robin on the other side. But I remember, I'll never forget when Jose started his press conference and he was like, yeah, I'm the special one.
I'm special.
And I was like, who's this guy, man? Because I remember when he was the manager at Porto and they beat Man United and he ran down the touchline. Yeah. And then they had signed him as manager. And I was like, oh, who's this guy, man? This guy's a bit cocky, man. But then, you know, he had won it at that stage. So what was that like for you in the changing room? Because I really feel like that was kind of, I don't know, I really felt that really brought Chelsea into I don't know, it made them go from like, oh, this is a team with some good players to, oh no, this is now a powerhouse.
Yeah. Do you know what it was, right? you're right. You're bang on, right? So there was a lot of the players that people associate with Chelsea were already at the club, like Makelele, Frank, John, Gallas, Duffel was already there. We signed Robin that summer. But what he done, Jose, was he give us belief and convictions, just the ultimate swagger. He had just the way he just... I think as a man, I've played with some great managers. I've played with some not so great ones, right? What the great ones have got is they got an authenticity and an integrity with themselves. And he was like, at the time, that charismatic, good looking. He looked like he come out Hollywood. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Barnet was swift.
Yeah, because he was
all
young
year round
as well.
Town, young. You know, the mums wanted to watch him. The players were hanging on of his word, and you knew, like, he meant it. You know, when he come in and said, I remember it. He said, "Listen, he said to us, he said, look, this is who I am. I'm a winner. If you follow me, we will win the league." And he put a date up when he thinks we're going to win the league. And he said it with such conviction. And then everything after that, there's training, the intensity. Like any great team needs to have a great leader. And he was just, just bang on. So we all just followed him. And we enjoyed that little, shaking up English football, shaking up European football, because your Arsenals, your Liverpools, your Man United, like, going, you ain't supposed to be up here with us.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like, we know what Chelsea are. You win a FA Cup here and there.
And
you play some nice football, and it's a lovely part of London. But you ain't supposed to be here.
Yeah.
So you got that sort of, like, we had a bit of that swagger. Do you know what I mean?
How intense was training when Jose came in? Because I'm always intrigued to when players talk about training, because you can describe it in a way that you're like, you hear it sometimes where you're like, every day you're competing, essentially,
Compete. That's it, competing, and you work out. It was survival. If you weren't at it, you're being left behind. Like that was every day. Yeah. Like, I remember we played like 4-a-side, 5-a-side games, and if you lost a block of 3 minutes, you're like, you'd be devastated. And the lads drove each other on. And I think I remember coming off. I've never been so exhausted as coming off of the training pitch, because you're like, wow. And there was no running. Like, all that running round. We're going to do 5,000 meter runs. It was just intense football based running, and all of us got fitter, stronger, better tactically. And we was all young, so we all sponged all the information. And still to this day, his marks left at Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like a Shankly-like character, a Wenger-like character. Yeah. Where he's part of the culture. It's from, he made a big change.
It's like that philosophy that managers have, like, you see it with Alex Ferguson, Arsene Wenger. Yeah. See it a bit with, like, Liverpool, Klopp. Yeah. In some ways.
And Arteta now as well. Yes. Arteta's taking it on the next level. If he wins something this year, and I think he will, mate, he's going in the right trajectory. Yeah. Yeah.
So at this stage of your career, when you're playing for Chelsea, you also play for England as well. And, when you look at that spell that you've played for England, and people go back to that team and they're like, how did that team not win anything? I've spoken to Rio Ferdinand in the past, and he said that at England, at the camps, it would be very cliquey. The United boys with the United boys, and some of the Arsenal guys and the Liverpool guys. What was your experience like playing for England?
Yeah, there was, like, people go straight to that clickiness, right? It was a little bit of that, but, like, that also birds of a feather flock together. Like the Chelsea boys would naturally gravitate to each other. The Arsenal, the Liverpool boys, that would happen. From a management perspective, look at my head, that should have been dealt with a bit better, like that. But that weren't the reason. That weren't just the reason. It was part of it. The main reason was the trajectory that English football was on, tactically, and how we played wasn't right, in my opinion. Like, we played like a style of football that was like 80s, 90s style of football, which was great in that era. But as the game evolves, you have to change. Like, we never had enough controlled possession of the ball at tournaments at certain times. You know, tactical nous, when to go, when not to go.
Yeah,
and I think it goes back to a fella called, I don't want to put it right on him, he's not with us, but his name was Charles Hughes, right? I'm going to bore you now, but he played a certain style of football, 4-4-2, like, you know, very much, you know, sort of a bit like data, like how many times you get the ball into the box, reference how many times you score a goal, where you are when you defend, how many shots, like very basic stuff, right? And it was in all of the coaching manuals throughout English football. So and everyone sort of grew up on this way of playing. And I think as football evolved around us, you know, there was never I don't think as England we had ever had a plan of how to keep the ball and keep possession. You know, maybe drop in an extra body in midfield if we're outnumbered there. You know, when to go wide, when not to go wide. We was good defensively because we could all do that. We knew that, but so I think tactically we weren't good enough. Like ultimately, that's it. And you know, and I think if people look up that, I think that's why now with England, Gareth Southgate, I think they changed it around in 2010. We're producing players with technical ability. We're centre halves who can go into midfield, fullbacks, inverted. Like we're a lot more tactically better because we've and I think if anything, some of our younger players were technically and tactically as good as Brazilians and Spanish and things like that. Yeah. So that there is other reasons, not just clickiness, but that didn't help.
Yeah, you kind of see it in some of the tournaments. I'd want to probably say the Euros. We just finished the Euros. Yeah, the Euros where Saka they're like playing left wing back because he can play on the left. Yeah. And it's seeing the players that can adjust to that so quickly, even though it's not their favourite position, but it's not like you've got him on the left, he's going to struggle. Yeah. We've got no one else. Yeah. It just works. And then you see them change and you see shapes and
they're so, honestly, they're I'm quite unfashionable with saying this, but I feel that these players now are so much better tactically, smarter than us. I think football goes like that. I think the players now are better than we were. Like my colleagues I'm sitting with in the studio might disagree with me. You know what I mean? Like it used to be better in our day. I just think they are. I think there's a reason world records get broke all the time because we as human beings find a way to improve and get better. Yeah. There's no way of knowing whether Bukayo Saka's better than Paul Gascoigne or something like that. But I just think they're definitely 100% better tactically than we were. Yeah. Yeah.
I remember, I think it might have been the World Cup, your goal against, is it Sweden? Yeah. You chested it. Yeah. And volleyed it in. Yeah. And I would probably say that's one of the best England goals I think I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. In a major tournament. I think it's up there with Michael Owen against Argentina. Probably put David Beckham's free kick in there against Greece. Yeah. But to see your fearlessness when you played football, especially at international level, what was it like when you go out to those tournaments? Because, again, it's like some people talk about the clickiness, but there is such a pressure on an England team at every tournament. And it's weird because, now me and my friends are in the group and we talk about this team or that team or whatever, but everyone puts their alliances aside for a summer of football. Yeah. And I can't imagine what the pressure's like. I've heard, past players talk about, what the tabloids say and, you now have like what people say online. Yeah. What was that like for you in your career when you was playing for England, that pressure?
It's different. Like, again, like it's so basically it's hard for young people listening. The media landscape was different, right? There's no social media, so there's no outlet to view your opinions, right? So everything funnels through the print media and the 2 or 3 channels that were covering it. So if they had an opinion, the 4 or 5 editors of the newspapers on a player, that would spread out and that would become the narrative on a footballer, on a team, and then that becomes tribal as well because this one's got affiliates with this one. So, and the players, you have no right to reply. Then you had the front pages of the newspapers who would, their jobs to get a story on a player. So there'd be lots of stories, private life and things like that on players. So there's distrust, there was distance. So the media, we hated the media for that reason. We felt that they was wanting us to slip up because it felt like that.
Yeah.
Probably didn't, you never know. And there's no right to reply. So you had players like I like Ashley Cole, my pal. He's one of the nicest men, not in just football, just a nice guy. If you read stories about Ashley Cole, you'd think this guy was like he was a serial killer or something. Do you know what I mean? Like they just didn't, because he wouldn't speak to him. Coley just went, right, that's it. Which I admire. He's principled. Do you know what I mean? And so it was a different thing. So so some players couldn't handle playing. They'd be good in their Premier League clubs and that, but as soon as they went with England, I remember a player, I wouldn't say his name, but he come off the bench. We were playing a friendly, and he come, and the first thing he said, I think I'm going to get a 6 in the paper tomorrow. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh really? I didn't say nothing, but I was like, what, that bothers you? Do you know what I mean? Because like genuinely, I don't, again, I had lots of faults as a footballer. I'm not saying I was, you're the greatest footballer of all time or anything like that. But one thing was I had a thick skin, and I don't know where that came from. Because I genuinely, so that helped me when I played for England. And I was like, I just played. I just was like, I just sort of, I got this way of before the kick off, I was like, right, whatever will be, let it go.
Yeah.
And then I went out there and played. Sometimes I played well, sometimes I didn't. And I think that was the main thing. And that's the difference between players who can perform at the very top level. Some people find their little where they are, their atmosphere.
Yeah.
And they like, I'm cool here. I can play at this club. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But nowadays, to answer your question, the players they're sort of, they have right of reply in the media. They have PR management around them.
Yeah.
They know what to say. So they can sound a bit robotic at times.
Yeah.
But they're young men. Like, that's excusable. But we should, like, you just have to roll with it back in the day, and whatever will be, will be.
So you had one of your major injuries. I think it was like 27 at this time. Was it your knee injury?
Yeah, 27, 28. Yeah.
27.
Yeah.
How did that feel at that age? Because I feel like, I don't know what it's like now, but I remember there used to be a time where people say, oh, you're at your peak.
Yeah.
27 to 30 is like the best footballing years where your body's in the best position, you can probably run the best, and your fitness. How did that start to affect your mental health in some ways?
I separate my career in two, the first 10 years and the last 10 years, because I was never the same player after the knee injury. I tried everything, Mo. Like, I was on it. I literally went to see all the knee surgeons, the best physios, the best chiropractor, osteopath. I went to see a lot, faith healers, dietitians, anything. But I just couldn't quite get to the level. I kept breaking down afterwards.
Yeah.
And there's nothing worse for a footballer, right? And I don't want to say, you get robbed of your best years. I thought I've robbed of my best years as a footballer because I was going like that. And listen, it is your journey. Like, maybe I'd won a few more trophies, scored a few more goals, But I feel sorry for the kids that get that knee injury I got before they've even kicked a ball, and they're the ones that. So they're the ones that might be driving a bus, or, do you know what I mean? And they could have been. That's the people I feel sorry for, and that's the job we're in.
Yeah.
You can't run in the rain without getting wet. Sometimes you get injured. So when I got the injury, I knew it was a bad one, because it was the whole ligaments in the knee. It was everything. And but then you try and come back, and like I said, I'm just as proud of the last 10 years of my career. I won a double at Chelsea.
Yeah.
Come back, had an impact, scored the important goal at the back end of the season to help win that title. I went to France, had a great experience.
You was at Lille, right?
Lille, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and that was that was probably my most consistent spell after the knee injury, because I had a manager. I couldn't train every day. That was what it was. So he would let me sort of get myself right and just get ready for the weekends.
Is this when you was at Lille, right?
Yeah.
So kind of let you train when you wanted to train and stuff.
You know, but I couldn't get quite to the levels, you know. So it was tough mentally.
Yeah.
But like I said, you got to be happy with what you got in life. Like otherwise, you know, sometimes I ain't gonna lie, I sit there thinking, if JT don't slip in that final, I might have a Champions League. And then I've got the full set. I'll be all right. But realistically, I'm all right anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, but it was tough mentally. Do you know what I mean? And it coincided with the time I had my first child. And so that becoming a dad, and going into that stage of your life as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's just part of your journey, isn't it? Yeah.
How impactful is that in terms of your career, that last 10 years of your career? Because it's like you're saying, you've got the knee injury. It's allowing you to play, but not allowing you to do the things that you want to do, in a sense of when you're playing football, where you're like, normally I could run that bit more, or I could make that turn, or I know I can make that pass, but when I'm doing it, it's not going the way it is. So how do you start planning for that last 10 years? Because it's like you're saying, you've got a child, you're playing football in France, and then you came back to Liverpool. You went played for Liverpool, and then you went off to America. Is that last 10 years where you're almost like, is it almost like a deadline in some ways for a footballer, where you're like, okay, I know I can't do the things I can do, and I like playing this game, but also I have to start looking at the side of my career, which is now my life after football? Yeah,
there's loads of things going through your head. Like the first things first, I wanted that blind ignorance, like where I was gonna beat Father Time or fate or destiny, and I'm gonna be the one. I'm gonna find the solution to make this, so I don't keep pulling my hamstrings and or something like that. So there was that as well. And like I said, I went all around the world trying to find something. And then there's also the fact where, your responsibilities, your children come along, like, I've got to make sure that I keep my body as good as I can to monetize, to secure my family and hopefully my grandchildren's future and all that. So there's that as well. People forget about that with footballers. You know what I mean? When they talk about that loyalty and all that, it can end in an instant. And you've got this ability, this God-given talent, where you can change not just your trajectory of your life, but your kids and your, do you know what I mean? And as a man, that's ultimately what you're here for. So all of that's going on, and all of a sudden, and I'm still trying to enjoy it, right? And so the Lille thing was great. I loved it. We nearly won the league. Beautiful. I experienced life in France. Going back to West Ham, and then when I was at Villa, this is when I knew the game was. I can remember sitting in. One of the few games I was chosen to play that season. I got myself fit as a Premier League game. Drove to Villa Park, and I used to have a problem with my hip, and my hip just seized up in the car. So I'm in the car park, and I'm like, the stewards there have opened, and he's like, we're going into the stadium. I'm like, mate, I can't get out of my car. I'm like, so I'm having to pick up to get out of the car, I'm picking up my thing because it just, I don't know, it's just frozen up or something. And I'm getting out of the car and I'm walking into this change room thinking, I'm going to try and play in the Premier League. I couldn't even get out of my car. So I was like, and from that moment I knew, right, that, like, I'm on the slide now.
Yeah.
And then I managed to go to America and play. But that was almost a beautiful thing for me and my family, because the football was a lower level. It was a beautiful place, Florida, Tampa. Met some great people. And I played on for and do you know where it was? I played on for another 2.5 years, and the level helped and the sun helped. But it was nice to sort of be alone with your family, but also be a footballer coming down, getting ready for the next part of your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
And I'd probably say that's the happiest I've been in my football career.
Oh, wow.
The last 3 years, yeah. I would forget all the trophies, the World Cups in England, and all the all the moments. That was brilliant.
Because no one ever talks about that last part of their footballing career, because I guess for some players it's like it's over, but also it's you're moving a family around from country to country to different lifestyle, different schools, different friends, knowing that you're like probably going to go back home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you are now in your middle of your career, in some ways though, as a pundit, is really interesting because you got a lot of footballers either go into coaching or punditry.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I watch you on TNT Sports, you are like you're a player's player.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the amount of players that come up to you and say like, "Oh, you're right, man." You sometimes see it when you guys are on the sideline yourself, Martin Keown, Owen Hargreaves, Rio Ferdinand when he was on there. How is punditry for you? Because now you are giving opinions on not just the game but on players.
Yeah.
That must be quite difficult in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting easier, Mo, because the longer the years go on, the less of the players I've played against or with. You know what I mean? So, But you know what? I've got a golden rule, right? I don't try and grab headlines. Do you know what I mean? That I don't do that. I try and if a player's made a mistake, it's our job to say this is what went wrong. This is what went wrong, and then also if we can elaborate on why it might have gone wrong, because then you're putting the viewer into the seat of, footballer. Say he's just come back from injury, he wasn't sharp enough. He's not good at this. He needs to get better at defending the far post, anything like that. So I try and think if I'm saying something about a player, I'll be okay if they're sitting next to me. Do you know what I mean? And I try and empathise with them. And I feel that's one thing I feel for these boys, mate. There's so many angles, mate. You can't hide. You can't hide. And we got our little machines like pointing arrows at them, like checking how many times they check their shoulders. Like there's a lot of pressure on them from us. Yeah. So I try to do it from a place of like. And if anyone's up, if anyone I've said anything out of line, like, I'm genuinely, I'm sorry. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to upset people.
I don't feel like you've never come across like that when I've ever watched it though.
Yeah.
I feel like you gave a great perspective as a player.
Yeah.
You're a bit like Thierry Henry as a pundit, where you've played the game and you can talk about experiences of like when you get the ball and you're like, cool, that is a very hard thing to do. But also, I think there was a game at Leicester and Arsenal played Leicester, and I remember you speaking about Wanyeri, and you were saying it from your perspective of like, I remember when I was his age playing football. Yeah. So I've always seen you as like a person that can give a great opinion that's saying like, when you do that, that is very hard to do, or it's very impressive how someone's done that, as opposed to like you're saying, grabbing headlines for the sake of grabbing headlines. And I feel like as a fan, we love that because we see the footballers that are like, oh, right, I'm getting an insight that I didn't even know. I'm just seeing it and just being like, how you not pass the ball there? And you can say, it's impossible. I wouldn't have been able to do that. With punditry though, I've always wanted to ask this because is it learnt or is it just natural? Does that make sense to talk about football?
Do you know what, right? This is, and I don't, any footballer thinking about going into punditry, don't do this. I'll tell you what I did. So I didn't want to be a pundit. Yeah. I'm doing my coaching badges. I'm like, my agent's going, we'll just do a few, see how you like it, earn a few quid, like it's a good job, right? So they've asked me to do let's come and do a little bit of media training, elocution, not elocution lessons, but make sure you pronounce the I just thought to myself, no, I don't want to be that guy. Like talk. I'm going to talk how I talk. I'll maybe get some names wrong. And I just think it will be better. So I said, no, I'll be right. I'll come on and just do what I do. I'm just going to try and be natural. So I went onto the set with no I wasn't worried. I'm like, this don't work. Do you know? I wasn't prepared. I'm like, well, I know football.
Yeah.
I've been doing it since I could walk.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
right, where's the buttons? What do I press? Okay, that's it. All right, that's all I need to know. Then I went out there and done it. And 6 years later, they're still inviting me back. Saying, but don't do that. Do you know what I mean? That just works for me. Do you know what I mean? Like I know myself. Like we'll have a game, right, and I'm watching other pundits and they'll be writing stuff down. This one, and I know if I do that, I'm not seeing it. Do you know what I mean? I'm sort of like,
I see. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And so I like to think that's definitely not the way to do it, but it worked for me. So and like I said, I'm still here. I'm still getting a job.
How demanding is the punditry? Because it's like you're saying today, you had the game last night. You've got to watch.
Do you want to answer
games?
Do you want to answer what I tell my wife or what the truth is?
Go on.
I tell her it's so demanding, man. I'm tired, babe. When I come in, I need time. It ain't demanding at all. It's the best job in the world, mate.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, because you're like, there's the people around us, right? I'll give them a shout out, right?
Yeah.
The cameramen, the sound people, the analysts, and all of that. Like, they are brilliant. They do everything right. So, all I've got to do is watch football and see something and be able to explain it to the man in the street. And that's crucial, I think. I think because, like you said, when Darren Fletcher asked you about the pockets, right? I know what he means. Yeah. But like and you might think you know what he means, but he might be meaning something else. So you've got to be able to say it in a way that they can relate to. Yes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the only things you need. Everything else is taken. Bring your nice teas and biscuits to watch it. It's a blinding job.
And I guess that's where punditry is like so vital to the game for the armchair viewer, because you're telling us experiences, you're telling us what a player's going through, or even seeing, your reactions as footballers when the goal has been scored. And we sit there and watch that and you're like, oh, right, that must have been a good goal if someone reacted like that. Because I feel like what can happen now is you can watch a YouTuber say something and you'll be like, but you didn't really play the game. And I think every opinion is great in the game of any sport. I think the fans' opinion is important. But punditry is something that, when you watch the game, is, my girlfriend would ask me afterwards, she'd be like, your team won. Why are you watching all this stuff afterwards? And I'm like, listen, I need to know what the fans are saying. I want to know what the players are saying. I want to look at the stats. Like, obviously, in the time this has been recorded, Arsenal haven't scored a goal yet. And I'm watching how many shots have been on target. I've never done that before.
It's mad, isn't it? There's no hiding place.
That's how, and I'm like, no, babes, Slavia Prague took 3 shots on target. I don't think you realise this. She's like, but they didn't score. I'm like, but it's not good, is it? Do you know what I mean? So for you now, in the position where you are, when you start to look at your end in some ways, because I guess it could be quite easy to get very comfortable in a position as a pundit where you really enjoy it. There's a great production team around it. But is there, and like you're saying, you've done you're doing your coaching badges and stuff. So where do you look at your career? Because it's like you're saying, you have your career in 2 halves, where you've got your first half of your career and your second half of your career. But then where you are now within your career is like, your first half is, we all know you as Joe Cole, the footballer, where there'll be another generation who, like, I grew up just watching some people just as a pundit. I didn't watch them as a footballer. Do you know what I mean? And how do you start to look towards that second part of your career now? Because there's the comfortability of being a pundit, but I guess there must be a little like itch where you're like, I think, you look at other coaches that are your age mates and you're like, you know what? I don't mind stepping into those shoes. Do you know what I mean?
I know, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's like writing a book. I think the reason I wrote a book is because you get to, I'm 44 next week, in a few days actually, and you sort of like, you retired 6-7 years ago now, right? So you like, your identity's so tied up in being a footballer, right? So the last 6-7 years, I think that's really tough for footballers. I know nobody's going to be upset because we had the best job in the world, but you're these heroes. You're put on a pedestal. You're going to battle with your mates every day. You're playing, like, it's amazing, and you're known as I was known as Joe Cole, the footballer, you know. And then so sort of the last 6-7 years, I've done all the things I wanted to do outside of football, you know, like you know, done some mad things for charity, like, you know, climbed Mont Blanc, crossed the channel on a kayak, rode a bike to Amsterdam, had a box, all these things. Like what I was looking now, I was searching for something to replace the football.
Yeah,
because the punditry don't really like it can't. Do you know what I mean? Because you're not in the battle. I'm watching the battle. I'm at the Coliseum with my popcorn and I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
So that I am drawn back to football. I'd like the idea of shaping some young players' careers and teams and doing something incredible in the only thing I know, but what I know best, which is football. So that is drawing me back. But then writing, you know, writing the book with Sam Wallace, the journalist, who's I think's done a great job. You know, it's the legacy you leave behind. I wanted it for my kids because they live a very different life to where I did growing up. You know, they so you go through all of that and you do start thinking, and it's through the process of writing this book has made me more thinking towards what coaching, management, you know, something more competitive, because that's ultimately what thrives in me.
Because I heard when you play sports, that like never leaves you.
No.
The competitiveness, like in all aspects of. I'm a big fan of sports, but I'm a big fan of sports behind the scenes. I love watching documentaries of how sports people do the things that they do, as well as on, I don't know, the basketball court, the football field, or, you know, or whatever their, you know, track and field. But for me, there's something really interesting of how that person ticks off it, but also understanding that competitiveness never goes. Like when I've done Soccer Aid, all of you pros like will fully smash into some of us celebrities and I sit there and I'm like, that's just how that they play. Do you know what I mean? It'll be no different if I was on stage and I'm gonna do this seriously. It might be let's say it was the same, like, oh, you know, Joe's gonna do some comedy, and you'd be like, oh, Mo, man, calm down, man. Like, why are you doing so well? I'm like, this is my arena. So I have to do it to a level that I can't switch off from, if that makes sense. Like I remember when we played Soccer Aid and using the World 11, and I remember Dave, the rapper, he came off and he was like, Joe Cole? Bro, he's the real fucking deal, man. Like we was all sitting there and we all kind of left the pitch. It was like, Joe's he's not fucking around. But it was the way that it's not to say that you would have lost it, but the way you still had it was almost like, I think you could still play now, you know? Like I reckon you could still get on the pitch right now. How hard is it to leave that competitive nature in every aspect of, whether it's the Soccer Aid or whether it's the coaching or just playing the Monopoly? How hard is that to just detach from? Do you know what I mean, in some ways? Yeah, I mean, well, it's really tough, and I really admire like what you do, the stand-up comedian, because you know, I love Dave Chappelle. Bill Burr, Shane Gillis, Mickey Flanagan. I went to see. I've seen you. I like your stuff as well. Yeah, thank you. I went over, and that fascinates me because you're standing up there by yourself. When I go out to perform, I've got everyone with me. I've got a whole team with me. You know what I mean? And not just the lads. So like, I suppose like, if someone turned around to you and said, you can't ever do stand-up comedy again. Tomorrow, you got to clap the crowd, and that's it. You're never going to do it. Like, it's going to leave a hole in you, right? You know, and every footballer, when they leave the arena, I don't care what they say. You know, they might not love all of football, but it leaves a little hole, and you got to fill that hole with something. And you got to find it. I've got to find it what it is. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I'm fulfilled in my life, my family. My friends. I can't sit still. I'm always out doing things, ducking and diving, whatnot. But that competitive, that is a real tough thing for a footballer to walk away from. And nobody listening to this is going to be, them poor footballers, because we do have, listen, we've rung the bell. There's no doubt about it. We're good. But
that is the next challenge for me, finding something which can get the juices flowing as much. And listen,
yeah,
might run for Prime Minister or something. You never know.
Mayor of Paddington, bro. Come on, man. But Joe, it's been such a pleasure to have you on
my pleasure,
the podcast, man.
Pleasure, man.
I've been a big fan ever since I was a kid watching you play football. To sit down and like properly speak to you and understand the book. And the book is out now, I'm guessing, in all good bookshops and online audio books. And all
another thing quickly before we go, because it's quite self-indulgent to write a book, and I've got so much out of it. No,
it's not, man.
But
this is your memoirs, bro. 100%, man.
I know, but that's me. That's my mad stuff. But I decided to give all the proceeds from what I would get to charity, 2 charities, Onside Youth Zone, which is something someone I've worked with before. So they build youth centres and youth clubs in underprivileged areas in London, get kids off the street, sports, the arts, all that type of stuff. And another one is It's Never You, a friend of mine. It's a charity which helps families who've had terrible diagnosis with their kids, terminal diagnosis, and that support network around them. And he's lobbying the government to try and get more funding to help, because the worst thing that can happen to you, as far as you know, is if something happened with your child. You know what I mean? And there should be a massive support around that. So I chose them 2 charities because they're close to my heart, but also it's real organic. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
So so all of that. So hopefully a lot of positivity comes from it.
Yeah, man. Let's make this a Sunday Times bestseller, man.
That's the plan.
100%, Joe, man. Listen, I'm really excited to read the book as well.
Yeah, man, please do.
You've had a career that I've been able to really follow. I think there's some idols that, I supported Arsenal because of Ian Wright. And then I think I then had to play catch up of his life afterwards. Of his life before. But I've seen your career play out in front of my eyes to like play against you at Soccer Aid, even though it's like a little charity thing.
Yeah.
But then also still watch you on television and be a pundit. So it's really nice to see how your career has flourished as a footballer, seeing moments that I remember when you scored that goal against Sweden. And I remember like, it's different because you ain't got the YouTubes. So you had to be like, oh, play it again, man. Play it again. Like, and I personally don't think you get spoken about enough. Because he's outside the box as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bad boy goal, man. But no, it's just a pleasure to see like where your career is also going to with things like punditry and after football. And I feel like after football is where, I guess also as a footballer, where you get to live your life. You get to eat the food that you want to eat and travel where you want to travel and stuff. So I'm really excited to read the book, man. But Joe, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast, my friend.
Pleasure,
really,
mate.
really appreciate it. And this, my friend, has been your beginning, middle and end. Thank you very much, bro.
Thank you, geezer.
Appreciate you, man.
Hey, what's up? Thank you so much for listening to the podcast today. Now, a lot goes into making each episode. I know you hear my voice, but there's a team behind the scenes who help make it. And if you did enjoy it, I'd really, really appreciate if you could show the love to them by giving us 5 stars. And if you also have the time, please leave us a review. It's always appreciated, and we love reading the comments. And of course, we want to keep making it better. Thank you for listening, and have a great day. Peace.